Hey everybody, TC Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, the hottest show on daytime television. And I've been waiting all week for you, yes you, to stop on by and watch our show. And what a powerful show I've got lined up for you today. Today's special guest is Aaron Kimball. Aaron helps blue-collar businessmen overcome the fear to grow their businesses without losing their faith or their family. In fact, his core values are faith, family, business, and legacy, in that order. Today, Aaron will talk about how important faith is in life and in business. So without any further ado, let's crack open the God Made Millionaire Bank Vault and let's activate some God-given dreams. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You came all the way from?
Texas.
The great
State of Texas.
That's right. Listen, I'm honored and privileged that you've agreed to come on our show. I know God is doing a lot of things in your life and through your life, and I gave you a pretty nice introduction to start the show, but let's start out by talking a little bit. Give me a Cliff Notes version of who you are and what you're doing.
Well, I'm from a very small town in Smithville, about 3,500 people. Come from just a middle class family. Mom was a school teacher, dad worked for the railroad, and that's kind of like the blue collar middle class, lower middle class. And as you go through life, you start to learn more things. And then when I was in high school, about to graduate, my girlfriend got pregnant. I had to go to work, and I went to construction. And through that, then I started going into, I was traveling all the time. And I really wanted to be back home. And that relationship didn't work out, as you know, you do things at a young age and people grow apart. And then I got a chance to go to college. And when I went to college, I got a degree, and that's what you're told you're supposed to do, right? You go to school, get a good job, and everything's going to be all right. And so that college degree got me a better job. And I walked along for a while, and I'm like, well, this is good, but I didn't have that fulfillment, that purpose that you're looking for, right? When you're looking for that purpose, you're still empty. So I went and started my own businesses and started doing that. And I started out with the cattle operations, what I knew. And it taught me a lot about advertising.
Wait a minute. What type of operation?
A cattle business.
A cattle operation?
Yes. I mean, what else would you think coming from Texas?
But a cattle operation?
Yes, sir.
How in the world did you get involved in a cattle operation?
I mean, it's what I grew up with.
Of course, you're down in the great state of Texas, right? So, yeah. But that's fascinating. I didn't know that about
yes,
you.
Sir. Yes,
a
sir.
Cattle operation. How did you get involved in that?
When I was in high school, I showed cattle. So I've always was around cattle and horses. I grew up around them. So we roped and did all kind of stuff. So when I first went to start my first business, well, what is it going to be? What you know, right?
Right.
So I started doing that. And it was like buying and selling. Every business has different sectors, right? So this was buying and selling cattle and like buying and selling stocks, but the stuff that I was buying would die. So that was a lost profit, right? So when you start into that business, I had to learn about marketing, sales, and when to buy, when to sell, when to hold them, when to fold them, kind of like the Kenny Rogers song. I had to learn how to do all that. Well, with that, I had a lot of lessons learned first. And all those lessons come with money, right? So I lost a lot of money up front, which was really good because it helped me in the back end and it helped me move on. And then I got it started in real estate. And, you know, I didn't know nothing about it. I was only living in a 900 square foot house. And there was, you know, I got married by that time and we had 2 more kids. So there was 5 of us living in a 900 square foot house. And I don't know, I had these crazy visions and stuff. And I'm like, well, there were some lots behind the house and lots that I already owned. And I said, well, I'm gonna buy those lots. And so I bought those lots, and a couple years later, I told my wife, I said, I want to build some duplexes on them. She goes, okay. Luckily, my wife just flows along with whatever my crazy ideas are. So I went and I said, I'm going to build these duplexes. Well, I got the plans put together, put all that stuff together, and then I went to the bank and said, okay, here you go. And I said, this is what I want to build. And they said, all right. So the banker had known me since I was a baby, since I was in diapers. And she goes, I'll see whatever needs to be done. She comes back to me, she goes, this is how much money you need to put down. I went, all right, I got that. Then some more things went along, and then she goes back, well, the bank wants more money. It's not me. The bank wants more money. I'm like, holy cow. And they wanted like $60,000. And at that time, I didn't have about 15 or 20 in the bank account. I'm like, how am I going to come up with that extra chunk of money? Well, if there's always a will, there's a way, right?
Right.
So I got to talk to my wife one night, and I said, she had just quit her job because she was staying at home with the kids. And I said, well, that retirement fund you have, we'll take it. Then I can go borrow some money from my 401k. I wouldn't borrow money from 401k, came up with all the money that I needed to start to build those duplexes with. Then I was able to go build them, and we built them right off the bat. And we were living in a 900 square foot house, and each one of those side of the duplexes was going to be 1,400 square foot. That's a whole lot bigger than what we were living in, right?
Right.
So, and that's 4 houses. So we built them, and everything worked out good. And it's just, I had the faith that it was going to work out and we were going to be able to make it. And I would not take no for an answer. Life is like that. You cannot take no for an answer. You have to keep pushing forward. That to me was one of the biggest and best investments I ever made in, because now it's worth a whole lot of money. You know.
So you still hold those properties?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you done anything else in real estate?
Yes, sir. I got a construction background because it's what I went to do when I was 19 years old. So I was like, and I had a project management background. So those two together, I could do about whatever I needed to do. So then I went into building houses. I knew all the tradespeople from the duplexes. And so I started building houses and doing that. And then as time moved along, and that's fun, and I liked it, but it still didn't give you that purpose, right, that you're looking for. I guess one night I'd been laying in bed and I was like, all right, God, what do you want me to do? I'm done. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. I never knew what that meant and what that was really going to mean I was going to have to do. I never thought that I'd be sitting here with you. I'd be making videos. Well, it was right during the pandemic, when we were sitting there with the pandemic, and you were hearing about divorces, domestic violence. You were hearing about all these things right now, right? And I was going, man, men don't ever deal with their problems. They need to deal with their problems because we're really good at running away from them, not dealing with them. So that's when I would join this mastermind group, and from this mastermind group, family businessmen came out of it, and we've been growing that for the last about 1.5 years, 2 years, and then from that we've even niched down even farther because I love construction. I love to be able to do construction. I love to teach. I love to help people because a lot of people, they don't make profits. They're really good at working hard because that's what we've been taught to do, right? We've been taught how to work really hard.
I don't think you'll find a harder worker, or one of the hardest workers, cattlemen, the people that work those cattle. I think those are very hard workers.
Extremely hard.
You know, is that where your work ethic came from? Is from that work, or was it from your folks?
It came from that because I guess everything I ever needed in my life I had to go work for. You know, not always are we shown the right way to do things. Sometimes we're shown the wrong way to do things, and I was showed more sometimes the wrong ways to do things.
Aaron, let me ask you this, because you've painted a picture for me, and the picture that I see is a man that came from very humble background, blue-collar background, and God has raised you up, made you a very successful businessman in your own right, and yet, in spite of your success, both financial, personal, and business, your story to me is you weren't happy. In spite of all of that, you weren't happy because you weren't fulfilling your God-given purpose.
Right.
Did I hit the nail on the head?
You're right. You're right.
And something happened where there was a moment where you realized what that purpose is. And what is that purpose that God has called you to do?
Because what I do now is I help blue-collar businessmen overcome their fear to grow their business without losing their faith or their family.
Say that again.
I help blue-collar businessmen overcome their fear to grow their business without losing their faith or their family.
What's the biggest challenge right now for a blue-collar businessman in this economy right now?
Understanding their value.
Wow, that's a good one.
We don't really, like I said, we are taught to work really hard, right? But we're not taught how to work smart. And working smarter usually means that you're going to do things differently, right? Because if you're doing things the same way over and over again, that's called insanity, and it doesn't work, right?
Right.
So you have to start to think differently. When you start to think differently, you're going to start to do different things. And part of that is learning your value, because your value is a lot more than what you really anticipated, especially nowadays when you have click and order, right? You can go on Amazon and click a button and you get something delivered to your house next day, right? Can you click and order somebody to come fix your toilet when you need them?
No.
Okay. But those services are needed more than that package you needed from Amazon, right?
Right.
If you can't click a button to get an electrician to come over and fix something, can you?
No, you cannot.
Which do you need more, the electrician or the plumber, or do you need that package you got from Amazon?
I need the tradesman.
Exactly. See, they just don't understand their value and how important it is. Because with them, between those type of tradesmen and the farmers and ranchers, that's the total backbone to America, in my opinion.
Well, I would concur with you. I would concur with you. That is the backbone of our great country. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Aaron. Do you believe that business is a calling?
Oh, yes.
Because you were in business, and you are in business, a very successful businessman. Do you think being in business, do you think that's a calling?
Oh, I definitely do. Definitely do. See the 3 servants, right? One of them gets 3, 5 talents, and one gets, I think, 2 or 3, and the other one gets 1. The first 2 go and invest theirs, and the last one doesn't. When you're in business is investing, right? You're investing in yourself, you're investing in others. And business, that's where you get to help people. There's nothing better than being a servant, right?
Right.
Jesus was a servant for us. He taught us to be a servant for others. Business is just being a servant to helping others. And in the meantime, you just make money. And you get to help other people when you make money. There's not a reason why good people should not make money and be able to help others with it.
Amen. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting with Aaron Kimball. I'll be back in a moment after this message. Hey everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I was thinking the other day of how my life was profoundly impacted and changed for the better when I published my first book, Supernatural Success. Within 45 days of publishing that book, I signed a major TV deal to feature and promote my book on that TV show. After that, I published another book, got invited back to another TV show. If you're watching this video, listen. You've been given a God-given dream to publish a book. He's given you an assignment to do, and like me, you want to try to talk yourself out of it. I didn't talk myself out of it, and my life was profoundly changed. I want to help you publish your book. If you've been given a God-given dream, an assignment to publish your book, well, we have a publishing company designed specifically from A to Z to handle all of those details for you. All you need to do right now at this point is set an appointment up with our publishing company so that we can talk to you about bringing your book to the marketplace and your voice to the nations on our show, God Made Millionaire TV, as a published author. Aaron, you talked about your blue-collar roots. You're a very successful businessman in your own right, but people are looking at you go, it must be easy for you, right? Or you must have been lucky to have the success that you now enjoy. Take me into, if you don't mind, take me into that defining moment in your life where everything changed. Maybe it was a challenge, an obstacle, something that maybe you even felt like quitting. What was your defining moment that literally altered the course of your destiny?
That's a really good question. I'd have to go back because when you're taught to go to school, get a job, right? And you have a successful job and people think you're doing really well. Well, when you have that job, that can be taken away from you in a matter of seconds, right? And that was almost done to me one time. And at that point in time, it totally snapped for me. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to leave my future and everything that up to someone else. And so I said, okay, no more. And that's when I really started hitting it hard. But when you really start going into business and really want to hit business really hard, it's a very lonely path. When you're on that path, it can seem like you're falling from a very long ways off. And you get a whole lot of bumps and scrapes and bruises. And it's just very trying at times. But it also teaches you who you are at the same time. It teaches you if you have the will, you can find the way, and if you're willing to do the work, you'll finally get to the wealth. And I'll call that the 4 W's. Because the will is the important part, because that comes from inside you, right?
Right.
And if you have the will, you can find the way, because I didn't have the social media that they have now. They got YouTube. Like, kids can hit on YouTube and figure out how to do anything. All these people are on YouTube giving you all kind of good advice that you can figure it out. There's books you can read. I mean, there's a whole big world out there that was a lot bigger than when I was growing up, to have. So you can find the way. And then the next part is just putting in the work. You got to go work. And a lot of times you're putting in the work. No one's seeing what you're doing. No one understands what you're doing. And it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere at that time. But the more you put the work in, eventually it will pay off. And then when it pays off, then you'll finally get to the wealth.
Aaron, how big of a problem is it? Because you talked about identity, right? You really parked the car on that and talked about that's a challenge for men and women in business, is their identity and not really understanding that. When did you get that revelation of who you really were, and how has that impacted you since?
Well, to be totally honest, I just got it in probably the last year and a half. When I finally stepped into it and said, okay, I'm going to go do this, because I hated cameras. If you go ask my mom, she would tell you, I would hide from pictures. I'd be behind that, And then to going on and doing videos so people can hear you and hear that your message you have to help them, to be able to come in and sit down with you and be able to talk to you. Yeah, I'd had to really step into the identity. It wasn't the easiest part.
But that was a year ago.
Yes.
1 year ago. You see, the power of one decision can alter your destiny. Here is one decision you made. See, you made one decision less than a year ago. In a year's time, God has raised you up, and now you're on a nationally syndicated show that's syndicated into 200 nations and 93 million homes, speaking what God has told you to share with the people, his people. That's the power of one decision.
That's right.
Isn't that amazing?
It's truly amazing.
Let me ask you, as diverse as you are in your businesses, talk about and really talk about the power of focus. Because I see in business owners a lack of focus. I see in business owners where they jump from one thing to the other thing, or maybe they have multiple businesses that they're running, and all of them are suffering because they're not focused in on the one. Now, understand, if you have one business that you master and you make that successful, then you branch off and you can have other businesses. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying for the person sitting at home, Aaron, that is watching this and goes, yes, this is my pathway. How important is focus in your viewpoint?
To me, it's one of the most important parts that you have to have if you want to build something. Because without focus, you have nothing. A lot of times we want to focus in on the shiny pieces, the shiny object syndrome, but usually what we need to focus on is things that move the needle. And the things that move the needle aren't the shiny things. It's you become the person who you need to become in order to do what you need to do. And that is the toughest part, when you're trying to become who you need to become in order to do what you need to do. Because that's the piece that's the part of being lonely, what I was talking about earlier, when you're lonely. Because when you're trying to build something and you're focusing on that vision that you have, not anybody sees that vision but you. And a lot of people are going to try to distract you from that and tell you that's crazy. And if you go to tell any of your family, any of your friends, they're going to say, that's pretty crazy. I don't know what you're thinking. I've got that from, when I first built the duplexes, everybody goes, that's not going to work. You're crazy. That's $500,000. What if you lose it? And I went, I ain't got nothing now. So like, what am I going to lose? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it means I learned something from it, So you got to focus on that and understand that people are going to say things to you that may come off negative, but they love you. They just don't want to see you get hurt. But the only way you learn is by failure, right? So your focus on that desired outcome, that vision that you have, is the most important. Without it, you have nothing. And balance and focus doesn't feel very good when you're really focused. I always tell people, stand up on both feet and now pick one up. Now tell me how focused you are at not trying to fall down. You're pretty darn focused, right?
Right.
Now put both your feet back on the ground and tell me how focused you are at. You're not focused, right? You're not worried about falling down anymore because you got both feet on the ground. there's no way you can be in balance and focus at the same time. So you're going to feel really, really awkward when you're focused on your vision. And not everybody's going to see your vision and have the focus that you have in order to go where you want to go.
Aaron, I talk about quite often how God doesn't need Netflix when he's got T.C. Bradley for entertainment. Because when God calls you to do something, I believe he doesn't consult with your calendar or your bank account when he calls you to do anything. Would you agree with any of this?
Totally agree with that. If I would have never stepped out and said, okay, I'm going to go help the sector of people that are the backbone of America, right? And doing that, trying to get your message out. Like none of this is free. Like there's nothing free. It costs you either your time or it costs you your money, or sometimes it costs you both, right?
Right.
So there's nothing free in this world. And getting that message out there, I have spent a whole lot of money. More money than most people make in a couple of years. And sometimes the returns are slow, but you have to truly believe in your purpose and your mission, because without that, you have nothing, right?
Right.
So yeah, he does mess with you a whole bunch. Like he just said, go on out there, and about every time you run out of money, I'm like, all right, I don't know where the money's going to come from to do this next time. I said, but if you want to keep this going, we got to have some money. Then some money comes in from somewhere, and we just keep on rolling.
Aaron, you've been called for the blue collar business people to help them find their purpose. And right now, we've got people that are watching this show in 200 nations, 93 million homes that our show is broadcast into. And there's a man watching right now that is successful, but he's where you were in your life, where he has the success, but he's not fulfilled because he doesn't have the purpose, hasn't found that purpose. I want you to take a moment, sir, and speaking to that camera to over 200 nations, a message to that man specifically, a message of hope and inspiration and wisdom, if you don't mind.
Cool, thank you. The biggest thing you have to have is faith. Without faith, you have nothing. And in that faith, you're going to find your purpose, because it will lead you to where you want to go. But whatever you're doing, you never, ever want to let go of your faith, because that's the most important thing, or your family. Because there's going to be a time in your life where you're going to need that faith. And we found that out 3 years ago when our daughter died. It just happened within 24 hours when both of her lungs collapsed. But luckily, God saved her. And that taught me and my wife faith and how to hold on and go on and push through things. Because when you're building your business, doing whatever you're doing, keep that faith that you know it's going to work out no matter what happens. Because failures are a learning opportunity. Only way you fail is if you stop. Because when I was telling you earlier about our daughter and her getting sick, her name was Faith. And that's how important faith is to you in whatever you're doing in life. You got to hold on to that faith, because that is what's going to drive you and keep your families together.
What a powerful story. Thank you for having the courage to share that on our show, Aaron. Can you give a shout out to your wife and your baby?
They're all back at home. We got 4 kids. Kayla, kids, I'll see you.
You know, you can have all the success and wealth in the world, but if you don't have health and you don't have your family, what is it?
I know. And it's not about what we do or in business. It's not always about the money. It's a piece of the pie, right? Create legacy. But our families is what's so important to us, right? Because they can be taken away from us like that, like we saw. So that's why when you're in your journey of business and trying to grow it, don't ever do it for sake of losing your wife and your kids.
Right. We're almost out of time, but I want to ask you this question, because people will look and they say you're an overnight success, right? And I always tell people, you know what? Never judge a man and his success. Never compare yourself to another man's success, because you don't know the bridge and the road that man has traveled to get there. We all have to pay the toll on the bridge of success. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, definitely. Because when you start out, you have to learn how to deal with the stress, right? There was times in my early 30s, I'd go to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack.
In your early 30s?
Yes, because you'd be worrying so much, because you're right on the brink of just losing everything, right? So you really have to learn how to manage that stress and know that someone went through a lot of things to finally get there. Just know it wasn't overnight.
Why is faith so important to you as a foundational part of your success?
It's what I draw my strength from. My faith is built on a foundation, right? And with that foundation built on faith, I know it'll create freedom. I can't define what that freedom is, but I know it will. As long as I don't let the deceitful devil create doubt, I'm good to go.
When you talk about that deceitful devil, you're talking about a little fat man up on your shoulder that whispers in your ear?
Yep.
Tell you can't do that?
Yep. That's what I tell the guys that all the time. It's all about listening to what you listen and what you hear. Listening and hearing. Which one on your shoulder? You got God on one shoulder and the devil on one shoulder. You got faith over here, which God gives you faith, and the devil over here, which gives you doubt. So which one are you going to listen to? You going to listen to the one that gives you doubt, tells you you're not good enough, you can't do it? Or you going to listen to the one that tells you he's good enough, he made you to do it?
Would you agree with the statement that everything that you want is on the other side of fear?
Yes. And all it is a belief.
Right.
Change your belief.
That's simple.
It's that simple. Change your belief. Instead of worrying about what will happen or what bad things happen, start looking at what are the good things that are going to come out of it.
Now listen, we're almost out of time, Aaron. I do want to give you the opportunity to leave your contact information of how people can get in touch with you, especially those of you that are watching and maybe you fall into that category of not knowing your purpose. Maybe you're not successful, maybe you are successful. It doesn't matter to you, but you haven't found that purpose. Aaron, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to my website at theaaronkimball.com, or you can also find me on Facebook, Aaron Kimball, or you can go to Instagram at Aaron Kimball Official.
Now, Aaron, we are out of time, and I want to invite you back, but on one condition.
I'm scared of this one.
Are you going to bring me a pair of Texas boots to wear next time?
Of course we can.
All right. Then I look forward to having you come back, Aaron.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Aaron, before we end our show, we always throw on our shades and do our prosperity dance. Did you bring those Texas shades?
Got them right here.
All right, Big Mike, hit my music. Hey everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I'm honored and privileged to host the hottest show on TV, where each and every Sunday we feature God's people, faith-based entrepreneurs and leaders activating their God-given dream right before your very eyes. I want to encourage you that if you're somebody that God has given a God-given dream, I invite you to come on our set and activate your God-given dreams. Book a call with our producers and walk in your destiny